In Project 2, we're going to take a look at the Track Changes feature. And with this feature, you're going to be able to document or keep track of all the changes that are made within a document. With that option turned on, if you were to delete a word or add a word or move information from one area of your document to another, it would track it either by putting a strike through, underlining, providing double underlines, all kinds of ways that it can mark these various changes within the document. And we're going to take a look in Project 2A at a document. I already have it pulled up, the agreement document, and we're going to go through this document, make some real simple changes. We're going to delete some text, add some text, and then we're going to move some text within the document. And you'll see how with the Track Changes feature turned on, that it'll track those changes. So to do that, first of all, we need to go to the Review tab. In the Tracking group, you'll see Track Changes there. I'm going to click on the bottom portion of that, and to turn it on, I'm just going to click on Track Changes. Notice now that that button is depressed and active. And then we're going to go to the first paragraph here, and right before Agreement, we're going to type in Building. Notice as we type that in, it's in red and it's underscored, and that's an indicator again to you that something has been inserted within the document. Next, in the second paragraph where it says 30 days, we're going to delete out 30 days, and we're going to replace that with 60 days. Not in all caps though. Okay, so again, if you delete it, it puts a strike through between those words, and again the insertion is an underscore. Then in the supervision of work paragraph, we're going to take that entire paragraph and we're going to move it so that it appears right above start of construction. So I'm going to select those 3 lines, and I'm going to press Control X to cut, and then I'm going to click right before the S in start, and I'm going to press Control V, and that, notice here, lines strike through on the words that we're deleting, and then what we're inserting is in a green color and it's double underlined. So as you can see, there's a lot of different ways that we can tell that changes have been made to the document. Now we're going to turn off the Track Changes button, as I've turned that off, and then we're going to display these revisions that we've made in balloons. And we were familiar with the balloons when we did the comments, so we are going to display by going to the Show Markup, Balloons, and then Show Revisions in Balloons. And if you'll notice here, the deleted portion pops up as a balloon, the moved item, both of those show and appear in balloons. You'll also notice that there's vertical lines to the left of each of these, and I'm not real sure why that's not showing up as a balloon. It's recognizing that, but that should be a balloon. There's probably a reason why I'm missing something there. Okay, so the inserted insertions of words do not appear in a balloon. So okay, but another indicator I wanted to show you is these vertical lines. If you look over in the left margin, you'll see vertical lines out to the left of each line where some kind of change has been made. Okay, so those vertical lines are another indicator that changes are made. Now if we want to look at these markups, not in balloons but in line, we can go back to the reviewing pane, show that in vertical manner like we've seen before with the comments. And you'll notice too that there's a summary area here. 5 revisions have been made, 2 deletions, 1 move, and 2 formatting issues. So yeah, so it summarizes all those. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and close out that reviewing pane, and we're going to go through steps again to change the username. Previously, when we were working with comments, we went to the File tab and Options. However, another way that you can get to that same dialog box is to go into Track Changes and then Change Username. Notice you're in the Word Options dialog box, General Category, and you're right here where we can change the username. So I'm going to change that, as they've suggested, to Julia Moore, and I'm getting this information at the bottom of page 263. And then once those changes are made, I'm going to go ahead and click OK out of that. And then we're going to make some additional changes to our document. So again, I'm going to turn on the Track Changes button, get the feature turned on. And then for the title, Building Construction Agreement, we're going to change the font size of that to 14. We're also going to delete some text, and I'm looking at the construction loan and financing arrangements paragraph. At his option, we're going to delete that. So I'm going to select those 3 words and press the delete key. And then in the next paragraph, start of construction, right here, and completion, we're going to delete and completion. We'll make sure we keep the colon in there though, because that needs to stay in. And then the builder's right to, if I can find this one, builder's right to terminate the contract. We're going to delete the 30 days. And again, we're going to insert 60 here. I can see I've done something wrong already. It's 30 right here. It should be deleted. So delete that out. I don't know if I can reject that deletion on that one. Nope. I'm going to undo this. Okay, now we'll select the 30 and 30 and delete that, and then insert 60 days. The days is already in there. We just need to insert 60. Apologize. Okay, and then down at the bottom where we see in witness whereof, we're going to bold this. So I'm going to select that text, and you can choose the bold button wherever you like to do that, or Control B is fine too. And then with that being done, we're going to go back and turn off the track changes. So I'm going to click on Track Changes button. And then we want to display the reviewing pane again. So I'm going to go back to the reviewing pane. We're going to display that in the vertical manner. And you can see now where the changes, when I changed them originally, they are made with the username Ann Mills. And then when we change the username to Julia Moore, any changes that we made from that point after have her information. And again, rather than showing them inline, we can also show them in balloons. So if we switch that to balloons, notice they're all on the right hand side. All the changes have been made. Again, different colorings going on for different users. Again, when I lay my mouse on any of these track changes, it tells who did it, when they did it, what changes were made. So it gives you additional information through those tooltips as well. All right, I'm going to go back and show markup inline. That removes the balloons on the right hand side. We're going to change the username back to my information. So I'm going to go back to the Track Changes button, choose Change Username. And again, I'm going back to my name and my initials. I'm going to click OK out of that. And I'm going to close out of the reviewing pane as well. If you only wanted to print out the markups, the changes that have been made, you can do that again by going underneath the File tab and Print. And in the Settings area, we've gone here before, we're going to ensure, we want to make sure that the print markup is selected there. And it does appear to be selected. So if it doesn't have a check mark on it, then it's not going to print with that markup. Okay? Alright, now I'm going to go back to the Home tab. And we're going to display our document a little bit differently in that we can set our document to display the changes in such a way that only the final document is shown. So if we took into account all the changes that we put in, we could have it displayed that way. We can go in and have it displayed the way we have it, obviously, and we can also display it with the original information, no markings being shown. Even though they're in there, we can have it display however we want, and we can be very customized with that. So the first thing that we're going to try, we're going to change the display for review by going back to the Review tab, and then in the Display for Review text box, I'm going to click on the drop down arrow, and the first way through we're going to click on Final. And again, remember, it takes into account every change that was made. So these 60 days are showing up. It's just assuming that you're accepting all the changes that were put in. You can also display it by going back to the original. Okay, what we had at the very, very beginning before any changes were made. You can show original with the markup like we had before. And they actually want us to end by looking at final show markup. So we'll go back to final show markup. And these are with the changes made, but it does mark them. Okay, as we saw before, fonts changed, all those changes have been made. All right, now we can go through, since we've got two different users here, we can specify and filter out only the users that we want to see. So for example, if I only wanted to see Julia Moore's changes, I can go back up to the show markup, reviewers, and we're going to deselect some of these here. Okay, so we're good. So it's only going to show Julia Moore's changes throughout the document. You can see that. Okay, if I want to show mine, we can go to show markup, reviewers, click on Julia Moore, go back to reviewers, and then just choose mine. And so now you're going to see just the changes that I made previously. And then to get them all back, to get both Julia's and Anne's back, you can go back to show markup, reviewers, and then all reviewers. So we'll get both Anne and Julia's markups. You can also customize the track changes option, and by that I mean when we the defaults here, for example, to insert text, it's underlined. When you delete something, it has a strike through, and certain colors are used also. When you move something, by default it's green and it's double underscored or double underline. You've got ways that you can customize that. If you don't like the colors, if you don't like the style that it's applying to those words that are being deleted or inserted, you can certainly customize those. And so in Project 2D, we're going to go through and make some of those changes to customize them the way we want them. So we're going to do that by, again, in the Review tab, we're going to go to the Track Changes button, and we're going to click on the bottom portion of that. You'll see in there Change Tracking Options. That'll bring up the Track Changes Options dialog box. And with that, we're going to look at the insertions first. And as I mentioned before, they're underscored when you insert something, but we want to change that to a double underline. Okay, and the color for that, we want to change it to green. Okay, and then for the deletions, actually they're not going to change the deletion, sorry. The moved from rather than a double strike through, they want to keep that, but they want it to be dark blue rather than green. And then the move to, they want to change that to violet rather than green. The point of all this is that you can make changes to it as far as the formatting is concerned. So click OK to that. You'll notice these colors changed. If you'll recall, that was green before. This was, I can't remember the color of that before, to be honest with you. We know that was red before. So dark blue, here's where it was moved from. So you can kind of see the updates that were made in that Track Changes Options dialog box. So just know that that's possible for you. Okay. You can also, just like we did with comments, we can navigate to these revisions using the Find Next and Find Previous Changes. You can also accept and reject those revisions as you go through as maybe the owner of the document. If you've sent it out for comments and suggestions, when you receive it back, you'll want to go through each one of those changes and verify whether that's really what you want to do, if you want to accept it or reject the change that they've made. We're going to begin by, first of all, looking at the various markups again. You can distinguish between displaying all the markups that pertain to moving, or you can display all the changes that deal with fonts or formatting changes. You can look at all of them that are inserted or deleted. All those can be customized as well. And so we're going to begin Project 2E first of all by tracking changes except for the formatting changes. And so to do that, again on the Review tab, Tracking Group, I'm going to go to Show Markup and look at all the options that are automatically turned on. So if you wanted all of them to show except for formatting, we'll do that one first. I'm just going to click on that. If you'll click on that again, notice now that that does not have a check mark. Also, there's no vertical line to the left of where we know we made a change to that title and decreased the font size. So also in Witness Whereof, if you'll recall, we bolded that. Again, there's no vertical line to the left up indicating that there was any formatting change there. Okay. Now, let's put it back on. Back and select formatting. Now that vertical line comes back, and also on the title you'll see a vertical line indicating that a formatting change has been made. And then we're going to take a look at the navigating between the track changes. And again, that is in the Changes group. And if you want to go to the next change, that takes you to where the formatting change was. You can keep going on and on. It'll take you to each one of them, or you can click on Previous and that'll take you back up through the document. Alright, and then they also want to show you how you can move, this is kind of within the document, but if you want to move through your track changes in the balloons, first thing you need to do is show them in the balloons, like we've done before, show revisions in balloons, and then in those balloons, we'll start on the first one, the Go To. If you click on next, it'll take you can see it highlighting each one of those, and then when you get to the track change that shows a move, there should be a Go button in there, and if you click on that, that'll take you to where that paragraph was originally located. So that's something else that they wanted to show. And then if you look at it in line, let's go back to the inline just a second, and we'll turn on that reviewing pane. You can also, I'm going to hit Control Home, that'll take me to the very top. You can look at all of your changes in the reviewing pane, and you can go through and accept or delete those. And the first thing that we want to do is, I'll go back to the home, make sure I'm at the very top, and we're only going to display formatting changes. Everything else we want gone, or we don't want it to be shown. So as we did before, remember all these we'd have to go to them individually. We only want formatting showing. So I'm going to click on Comments, click on Ink, click on Insertion and Deletions, Markup Area. So we shouldn't see anything except those changes that were made with formatting, which is the In Witness Of and the title. Okay. Then we're going to go through and accept all the changes that are shown. Okay, so all of them that are shown are the formatting ones. So to do that, in the Changes group, if you click on the Accept option, notice here we've got some accept and move to next, accept change, accept all changes shown. Not all changes in the document, but all changes shown. So I'll click on that. That'll accept all the formatting options. Notice also the summary has gone to 0, so we don't have any revisions showing. Notice also it's in a filtered state there. Now we want to pull them all back. I want all the changes shown, comments, ink color showing, insertion, deletion, and the markup area. All those I want showing once again. Okay. Now this time we're going to go through the document change by change and make a determination as to whether or not we want to accept or reject that change. And I'm going to close out this for just a minute. Oh, let me get that back up. Notice there are 9 revisions right now. Okay, and that'll be kind of important in just a second because that'll change. 3 insertions, 4 deletions, 2 moves. Alright, so we're going to go to the next, and that is the building, and we want to reject that change. So to reject it, go back. To reject it, we're going to go back to the reject button, and we're going to choose reject change. And you can either reject change and have it go to the next, or if you just choose reject change, it automatically stays right there, and then you'll have to go to next. So if you're going through all this, really reject and change or accept and change is the better option. Okay. We want to accept the 30 change, so we'll go back to accept and move to the next, and that goes to the 60 and we want to accept, move to the next. At his option, they want to reject that. So reject and move. That takes us to the moved area, and actually at this point they want us to accept all changes in the document. So to do that, we can go back to the accept, and there's an option here now, accept all changes in the document. And now we can see all the changes have been made that were made previously. Okay, then they want us, let me go back to the reviewing pane just a minute. Now you can see there are no revisions. All the insertions, deletions, movings have all been taken care of. And once that's complete, then they want us to go back through and change all of the track changes option back to the defaults. So, and unfortunately there's not a default button to do that automatically and quickly. So we've got to go back to the track changes button, change tracking options, and the insertion, that's just a single underline, and the color of that should be by author. So it depends on who's inserting that as to what color will come up. And then the moved from, want that changed back to, it was double underline before, I'm sorry, double strike through. They want that changed back to green. The move to, still double underline, but the color of that green as well. The only difference will be the strike through will be when the move from, the move to will be a double underline. So the color coding won't change on the moves, but it'll be how it's marked, either a double strike through or a double underline. Okay, and then we'll click OK back to that. And we've already looked at the reviewing pane. I just mentioned this before. All those are at 0, so that's an indicator to you that all the changes have been reviewed and accepted or rejected throughout the document.